Good evening, positive people. Buenos noches, bonjour, bon dia, buongiorno, ni hao, memenjes, dobre utro, namaste, sawadi, chawem, manga nangu manga, como ye, sopa wanang sung, assalamu alaikum, privet, guten tag, calamara, and as they say in some neighborhoods, what's good? My name is Kevin Booker Jr., and this is my fabulous guest co-host, Daisy Torres.
Hi, everyone.
And my co-host, Paulina Batista. She's on vacation right now in Brazil with her family. And this is the Cultural Flipside, and we're all about family. So Daisy, for our viewers out there today, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, pues bienvenidos a todos. Hola, mi gente. My name is Daisy, as you mentioned, Kevin. It's such a pleasure again to be here. Thank you. I just loved being on the first show. It was amazing, an amazing experience. We missed you, Pauline.
Yes.
But just want to say that, I'm a Meriden native, grew up in Meriden public schools, taught there. I now work for Hartford Public Schools. I'm a lifelong educator, always will be. Right? Always will be. And I'm also, I talked a little bit about that. I'm an author, and I'm excited about that.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, just super happy and excited to be here.
That's
Thanks
awesome.
for having me.
It's an honor to have you here as well. So, Daisy, it's been a long week.
You're
Oh my
kidding.
gosh. Can you tell me, what have you been listening to?
Well, most people know now that I travel, I have a commute for work. And so lately I've been into my reggaeton.
Oh.
You know.
Who's your favorite artist?
Yeah. So, for me, my favorite artist is Maluma. Do you know about Maluma?
No, you got to put me on now.
Well, he's just like an amazing reggaeton artist, and he always, it's funny because he talks a lot about like betrayal and heartbreak and what gets at your emotions, right? But it's just like the beat, the rhythm. It just brings me back to Puerto Rico. Mi la Puerto Rico, right? It just brings me back there, and so I love the music, so it gets me all pumped
Absolutely.
up. I use it for working out too.
Wow.
So yeah, how about you? What are you listening to?
Jeez, you bringing me back to 2005 for a minute. Gasolina.
Oh my
Daddy ain't
God.
getting it.
Everybody talks about gasolina with reggaeton, for real.
And Tego Caletron.
Yes, you right.
Yeah. So this week here, I've been listening to a little bit of Boyz II Men. Motown Philly back again.
Wow, look at you.
Put a little East Coast swing.
Love Boyz II Men.
Motown.
Philly back again. You always singing, Kevin. You love singing, huh?
Life is too short,
Were you a singer growing up too?
No, I wasn't a singer growing up. I don't know. I used to do
I
like
see you at school.
that little mic, back in high school. The music is slow. The lights are dimmed every day.
You were one of them kids in my class. I remember you. You were like in the back of the room, just like kicking it with the music.
That's right.
I see it.
And then I had a little bit of Tupac this week on.
Oh,
My
really?
favorite Tupac song is "Dear Mama."
I love that song. It's such a beautiful, right? Beautiful music.
Don't you know? When I was young, me and my mama had beef. 17 years old.
Kicked out on the streets.
And back at the time, I never thought I'd see a face. Ain't a woman alive that could take my mama's place.
Oh,
that's what I'm
you're
talking
bringing it
about.
Back now.
Yeah.
You're bringing it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a Biggie fan too, but
What?
we won't
Oh,
go
man.
there. We won't go there. But
I love Biggie too.
I love Biggie.
And
I grew up in that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just great music.
It's a great show on Biggie right now too, a movie on Netflix. It's really like a documentary, really. And it goes over his life and how did he get to the point where he was as far as a star, and also like his mother being a teacher, and the things she had to sacrifice in order for him to get to receive the education that he did when he was younger. Yeah, positive show. It's a really good show.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Make sure you share that with me. That's awesome. Yeah, what I'm thinking about too is just like, the weather's getting nicer. I'm getting like itching to travel. right? I love, if anybody knows me, I just love to travel. Like, I'm a beach girl, right? And so for me, like, my favorite place to go is somewhere like Bora Bora. Like, I want to go to Bora Bora. Like, just live like in a hut on the beach bum. That's me
awesome.
all day long. What is like your ideal, your most favorite destination spot if you could
My
go?
favorite destination spot, I would have to say Clearwater, Florida.
Ooh.
Yeah, some peace. Yeah. But recently, I went to Lake George.
Oh.
Yeah, and I had such a great time there. I went on a boat ride and talked about how Lake George is 32 miles, it's 172 islands, 22 private islands, and you can stay in certain areas of the lake and on one of the islands, and you pay $25, and you can go camping and set your tent there. And it was just so peaceful, just looking at the water, just getting away, taking that time.
They say there's a lot of research around meditation and being around the water. Why I live by the shoreline for that peace and tranquility. I just love it. So that's awesome.
So where are you going? Like recently? Like you have any plans?
Well, I have a trip coming up to New
do?
Orleans. New Orleans? Have you ever been to NOLA? I love NOLA.
Give me NOLA a clap. Give me that NOLA a clap.
I love NOLA, right? The food is amazing. The people, the culture. If you've never been, my viewers, please, check it out. It's phenomenal. And it's gonna be my third time going. That's how much I like it. So
we got to give a Ric Flair with that one.
Woo!
That's awesome.
Love it there. So that's what I'm gonna be doing in a couple weeks. So I'm excited about that.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know. Lots going on. It's true.
So
talk to me.
When I think about, we talking about like traveling, music, we talking about, just so many things that's going on. But one thing that really resonates with me right now is, people are dealing with a lot of anxiety and frustration, and just so much that's going on, and they feel like they can't get out, and some people are like, I can't even like date. I can't even go on a date.
That's true.
I can't even like.
That's true.
And then being single, I mean, it's tough.
Right.
On so many levels. But the first thing that comes to my mind, is what's your favorite date night? With your,
Date night. You bringing it personal.
What's your favorite date night right now?
I will tell you, people when they think about date nights, right? They think nighttime. Oh. Right? I like to think outside the box. And why not have like a day date? Like day dating is so cool.
You gotta turn me on to this day dating thing.
All right, I will. So like day dating is, just enjoying, somewhere where, each other's company out in the day. And for me, I like going to the vineyard. Right? So just bring it like ordering takeout, going to the vineyard, getting a blanket, sitting by the water with 2 glasses of wine, got some music in the background. You can even put a little Pandora Patrol music, right?
In there, yeah.
It's an awesome, it's a great date night. Well, day dating, excuse me. It's great. I love it, love it, love it. You should try it.
I don't know. I'm thinking about dating on a budget right now.
Really? You got a baby, you just bring a bottle. It's like, come on, you can do that. It's outside. Like you don't pay. You don't pay to park or anything. You should try that. Yeah. But what would
you know what I've done? And when I talk about dating, like dating on a budget, $20, right? And we make dinner at home together. Get dressed. After we make dinner, while the food is cooking, slowly, go get dressed. Have the table set up. The living room, you take the furniture, move it aside, create a little dance floor. So after you have dinner, you do your little dance in there, have your little playlist, let Pandora, play the little slow music, a little bit of reggaeton as well, a little bit of reggae as well.
Now you're talking.
You see, and it's romantic. You're by yourself and you're enjoying that moment together.
Very nice.
That's a beautiful date night to me.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I got a little swag. I got a little romance.
Look at that.
Got a little bit of romance.
Okay. Very nice. And notice that the two of us both had music involved.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
So for the viewers out there right now, have a little bit of music. You can date. Have a little bit of time. Take that time.
Absolutely. Whether it's at night or during the day.
Just take some time with your partner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Connect, right? The power of connecting. Doesn't matter where right? Or what time of day, but that you're just carving off that time to do it.
Absolutely. Now, Daisy, I know we got a fantastic show today.
I'm so excited.
And I'm really excited about this show because today we have Representative Q Phipps from Middletown, Connecticut.
Yes.
We have Jason Ortiz, who's the president of the Minority Cannabis Business Association.
Wow.
And they want to talk about the legalization of marijuana and the marijuana bill.
It's a great.
This is going to be an awesome show today. And then like later on in the show, we have two phenomenal poets, Kathleen O'Brien and Marco Fabretti. And we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety, depression, and mental health, things that we're all dealing with at this moment.
True.
It's really affecting many of us on so many levels. So I know you had, the other day, you and I were talking about some of the studies and the stats.
Absolutely.
That, especially when it comes to marijuana and what's occurring around our nation on so many levels. So if you can share that with some of the viewers, that'd be great.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I love this topic. It's such a topic right now that many people are talking about. And so I wanted to do a little research and start thinking about it. And, can you believe that, like, in one research I read, 22 million people right now, ages 12 and up, have tried marijuana or have used marijuana in the last month in this country.
Oh my gosh.
22 million, right? And so I know there were, growing up, I knew about marijuana, I know people were using it, but that many people, right? And in the last month, and I know many people are using it for medical reasons. And so that was really, to me, like, wow. Right? Like this is definitely something that people are, whether it's for, anxiety, which many people are not talking about, or whether they're just using it to just deal with what's happening right now in this pandemic. Right. It is definitely, I feel like lots of touching of the lives of a lot of people.
Absolutely.
It's just truly, truly amazing. I mean, even when I'm thinking about anxiety, I also read that it's not a qualifying condition, anxiety, in order to use it for the marijuana medical card.
Wow.
Which I found really interesting considering all that's happening right now. You would think, with all the cases of anxiety, that should be a qualifying factor to use that marijuana, but it is not in not any one of our states. Which is, I was like, what is going on? That, and in a different study, it said up to 52% of people are using it for that reason. Wow. But yet it's not a qualifying, reason to use the medical marijuana card, which I just find completely fascinating. So I'm so excited to hear a little bit more about this bill and the passing and all of that, and the importance of that in our state. So looking forward to that.
I'm so thankful for Q Phipps and Jason Ortiz to be on the show today. Ron, can we bring them on the show? Because I'm looking forward to talking to these incredible individuals here. All right. Oh, they looking good too. Look at Jason Ortiz there. See you with the t-shirt and the blazer. My buddy right there, Q Phipps, 06 right there in the building.
Wow.
There you go. It is so awesome to see the two of you here. If you can tell the world a little bit about who you are, that would be awesome. Starting with you, Jason Ortiz.
Sure. So I am the president of the Minority Cannabis Business Association, which is a trade association that starts to get more people of color into the cannabis industry as owners, employees, and consumers, all three of them. We can talk about the differences between the three later in the show, but I'm also recently hired as the executive director of Students for Sensible Drug Policy. And so that's an international nonprofit that organizes and empowers students who use drugs to change the drug policies in their communities. And so I get to work on international issues, just like I get to work on issues here in Connecticut. And I'm also part of CURE CT, Connecticut United for Reform and Equity, which is a local cannabis equity group that we have been organizing together here in Connecticut and working with State Representative Robin Porter to introduce HB 6377, which is our cannabis legalization bill that focuses on equity, labor rights, and home grow for all.
Wow, hola Jason. It's so great to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. It's been a minute.
But I'm ready to talk about it now.
Yes, all right. I'm so excited to hear that. Now, Mr. Phipps, I don't really know you that well, but welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here. What I do know is that you are a state rep, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about you and your role.
So thank you for that introduction, and what a hard act to follow. Jason has a much cooler job title and day-to-day activities in his role. So that what a act to follow. But anyways, I'm Representative Q Phipps of the 100 District, representing half of Middletown, Wesleyan, Southfire, downtown, North End. As I like to say, if you have eaten in Middletown, you've probably eaten in my district. I serve as the chair of the agent committee, also serve on finance, and I serve on the commerce committee. I am the co-chair and founder of the Downtown and Main Street Work Group and Caucus, and also the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. So, and this is my second term in the legislature.
And you are also the first Black state rep from Middletown.
First Black state representative in the city of Middletown.
Let's not forget that.
Let's not forget that.
Very important. Yes. Congratulations.
There we go. And that actually leads us into that other question there on equity there.
Yes.
Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about that, since, you just segued into that, Kevin, so that was perfect. There's a lot about this bill, right? And a lot of conversation. We talked last week a little bit with New London State Rep Anthony Nolan, specifically about equity, right? And the equity in this legislation. Can you talk a little bit about, equity in this bill and what your thoughts are around that? What's your stance? What's your viewpoint? What do you think?
Sure. And, right now the hottest topic is how do we define equity?
That's right. That's right.
That is a complicated process because folks are coming at it from lots of different backgrounds. And so for me, and generally speaking for folks in the Cannabis Equity Movement, MCBA, equity means ensuring that the communities that were disproportionately policed, disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs are the primary beneficiaries of all of the benefits of legalization, right? So that's the 5,000-foot view, that the people impacted, folks that were arrested, incarcerated, harassed by police, had their families destroyed, had their financial means extracted from their neighborhoods, losing houses, all of those communities that had to suffer. When we decide how we're going to legalize cannabis, when we decide how we're going to end the war on those communities, there will be financial and other benefits that come from that process. And we have a decision to make of where those benefits are going to go. And we believe that those benefits should go back into those communities. We believe that the extra money, as far as revenue goes, should go back into urban communities that were disproportionately targeted for what is now an activity that some amount of people in our community are making billions of dollars off right now, while others sit in prison for the very same thing. So there's a very clear hypocrisy and differentiation of how different communities are impacted by the laws. And so knowing that that is true, knowing that the war on drugs was implemented for racist reasons, we have a duty and a responsibility to undo and repair that harm. That reparation and that repair of that harm are equity programs. What we think of as equity programs are specific policies and procedures that undo that harm. So when we sit back and think about why are we going to legalize cannabis, there's a lot of different reasons, actually. One is because the current policy of prohibition doesn't work. Even if you agree that that is what you would like to see happen, is we have no drugs in society, it is very clear that the current policy isn't working, right? There are very much drugs in society still, cannabis still exists, and people use all kinds of other substances as well. So admitting that that policy doesn't work, what is a better policy? And so we believe one that approaches the issue of addiction and substance use disorders with a harm reduction lens. We want to reduce the amount of harm that comes from those activities to both the person that's engaging in that activity, but also their communities. And we don't want to criminalize people because that does not actually rehabilitate anyone or deal with severe issues of addiction, when one of the biggest predictors or risk factors for addiction is feelings of isolation and depression. And so the idea that we would isolate people and remove them from their support structures as a way to help them deal with addiction is, again, a policy that is just simply not working and doing more harm than it is helping. And so we want to make sure that the policies we are moving forward with are grounded in equity and harm reduction. And then at the same time, we know there's going to be a tremendous amount of economic activity that happens from the legalization of cannabis as far as sales and regulation goes. And we want to make sure that our communities can access those benefits, those economic opportunities, create those businesses, form those jobs, generate that intergenerational wealth, just like other communities are going to want to do that. Unfortunately, the current cannabis industry is just as white and racist as the war on drugs was and is. And so we actually have to fight just to get our fair share of the pie. And so often we are competing, impacted communities, with multi-billion-dollar companies. And so in order to ensure that our communities have a fair shot at ownership, we would like and propose a separate process for those who have been arrested or impacted, that we don't have to compete with the multi-million-dollar companies at the same time. And that process, right, or my ability to enter into that particular lane is what we call an equity applicant or an equity owner, right? And so the equity programs writ large, there's lots of programs. One of them is specific to business ownership and startup. And we believe that there should be licenses given exclusively to that group of people. So if we're going to have 4 cultivation licenses in the big corporate space, there should be 4 licenses that are set aside specifically for people that were arrested or have a criminal history or have, a negative interaction with the criminal justice system. And so that way, as the business grows, our communities will grow with it, and our community's participation and benefit will grow with it. So we want it to be a ratio where if you give 1 to a big business, you give 1 to an equity applicant. And to be clear, equity applicants are not all people of color, right? The group of people who could be an equity applicant will be by default more people of color because the arrests were done more to people of color. But if you were a poor white person who was arrested and had to go through the criminal justice system, you too could access equity programs. And one of the things that we actually feel was a pretty big win in the most recent battles was allowing our tribal members, folks that live on tribal land, to apply and qualify as equity applicants. And so we have the opportunity to both end a terrible practice, but also put into place structures that can really lift communities that have been negatively impacted and show how public policy and government can help communities that need help. And so there's a lot of opportunities, and there's also a lot of history and passion and emotion as far as where we at and how we got here. But the opportunity is tremendous. The ability for us to really show future generations how to really be a successful, effective government is like directly in front of us in this conversation. So I think as long as we are focused on reducing the harm that was done by previous policies that we know were done for wrong reasons and uplifting and empowering those communities moving forward, we'll get to a good policy. It's just we have to be conscious and aware that not everybody in this space is operating with good intentions, and knowing how to uplift the ones that are trying to get it done, but also push back on the folks that would want to exploit the situation for their financial benefit in a way that doesn't benefit our community. So we got to do both of those at the same time. But luckily we have folks like Quentin Phipps, who is able to help us out up in the State House. He was actually one of the people that allowed us to testify with him.
That was beautiful.
When we went up there, and I just got thanks to Q for letting us go up there and swing a few bows with the state legislature and find it out. But that was back in 2019, and I point that out because this is not a new conversation that we're having, right? Like this has been going on for a long time. Some people may just be paying attention now, but for the communities impacted, this is something we've all been dealing with for a really long time, and we are ready to pass a bill that does invest in our communities, that does end the war on drugs, and we're ready to get it done this year, as long as we get it done right. But I think we are in a space where we can get a good bill done this year.
That's wonderful. So, you were doing, that was great, Jason. You were like, that was an awesome way of just making all of our viewers, myself included, just more aware of, this piece about the equity applicant and that process. I'm really, curious about that. I want to also just hear from Mr. Phipps a little bit about his ideas and his thoughts around equity in this bill. What does that specifically mean for you?
See, clearly Jason is ready to run for office.
Yep.
Because once you give him the mic, he doesn't stop. So I was like, oh, that's a good technique. I got to learn from him in this process. But seriously, I do want to talk about what I like to call a tale of 2 different states, right? And this is my second term, as I said. In my first term, when I got elected, it was right around when Massachusetts legalized it in their state. I said, you know what? Let me go see what the process is like there, just for research, we'll call it. Like, let's just experiment, see what it's like. And I was going to write to the press, or like have them and write like a kind of like a letter to the editor or an op-ed about my experience. I was like, Q Phipps, you are the first Black state representative in the city of Middletown. You can't go and tell folks that you were buying weed on the first your first 2 weeks. That's crazy. So I get across the state lines and go to the experience and get a line. And the line is gigantic, right? Like, can't find a parking spot within 100, 250 yards. Like, they have security there and police trafficking and all this, so on and so forth. Finally get in line, and literally within 3 minutes, folks were like, "Hey, Rep Q, hey, Rep Phipps, what are you doing here?" I'm doing research, right? And the fact that 3 people from my own district were in line too on this long Saturday, was very telling. So then I was like, let me start asking questions. I would like to engage with folks. I love networking. Let me start to ask folks like why they're here, where they're from, so on and so forth. Not a single person was from Massachusetts, because they all realized you got to go during the week, right? No one was from Enfield. No one was from Granby and all the sort of northern Connecticut areas. Everyone was from central Connecticut, right? So south of Hartford, Rocky Hill, Middletown, Cromwell, Hampden, Shoreline, so on and so forth, which just showed how much economic development and opportunity was leaving our state and going across the lines. So come back across, and I was thinking about this experience, and the next day, a state rep drove with a journalist to document his experience, and that was the op-ed that came out. And he was he's a good friend of mine, and it was public knowledge. So it was Representative Josh Elliott from Hampden. He was a good friend of mine, a young white guy, and just thinking about, once again, those 2 different experiences where the black legislator was like, "I can't tell nobody. That's not the way this works." And the white legislator was like, "Press, get in the car. We're gonna do this fun experiment together." Okay. So I said, okay, let's further develop this and think this through. And I will also never forget Senator McCrory in one of the public hearings about the effect and impact on cannabis to young children and students and just everyone. And they had 2 young ladies, I want to say high school age, we'll say, from the Shoreline, from Madison or Westbrook, one of that, somewhere in that area, Brantford, I can't remember the exact town. And Senator McCrory asked the question, do you know of anyone who has had their life impacted because of arrest through some sort of, with cannabis products, with weed, or whatever? And their response is, well, we think we might have known someone that could have got in trouble one time. And then I think about like a lot of my friends and that I grew up with throughout Middletown, or some of the folks that go to the same barbershop that I do. I mean, I couldn't count the number of folks that have had some sort of criminal justice relationship because of their use of, whether selling or use or experience with cannabis products. And it just showed, once again, there was significant differences in race, significant differences in economics, that will have your life will have a huge impact, or will have a disparate impact because of who you are and not necessarily what you did. And that's when, I mean, even before that, but that solidified the exact moment that we needed to do something different in our state. And as Jason had said before, the fact of the matter is we have folks like right outside of Riverside or Six Flags Park that are making hundreds of millions of dollars right now selling the same product that I have friends that can never get a student loan, that can't get public housing, that is harder to get a job because of what they're doing legally at this exact second. That is, it's wrong, it's immoral, it's racist, and it's also just bad economics. So I would prefer to talk to people and convince folks about the right policies because of the moral reasons, right? The fact that we need to do this in order to take care of one another as members of the same community, as neighbors, and that's just good folks, right? But if you didn't want to listen to the public health concerns, if you didn't want to talk about the morality, if you didn't want to talk about the over-incarceration of our folks, we could talk about the economics. We could talk about the amount of money that is going across state lines over and over and over again. And we can also talk about the economic impact of incarcerating folks that could be working, that could be productive members of our society, but instead we are, to be frank, just oppressing and in many ways physically and mentally just abusing folks by keeping folks in jails. So it is time to change. It is long overdue, and that's what we're going to work on. So the bill that Jason had talked about, Representative Porter's bill coming out of the Labor Committee, is the most equitable bill that we have written and produced. It includes homegrown, includes the ability for equity candidates. These are the things that we need to do. And also, I think I want to also talk about the other big important part, And I wish that we could decouple these two issues. One, the legalization of adult use cannabis, along with the restoration of rights and restoration of getting folks out of these prisons.
Absolutely.
Those ideas should be decoupled. But the political willpower is not there yet, but we will continue to fight for that. But the fact of the matter is, it is time to get folks out of jail, expunge their records, and then put in significant investment on restoring what has been taken from these folks in the months and years in which they have almost have had their rights taken away from being incarcerated. So we have a lot of work to do. The time is now. It's long overdue. We can't wait for New York to do it and say then it's okay. We can't wait for New Jersey to do it and say it's okay. It is time for Connecticut to be a leader on this very issue.
You know, I want to thank the two of them for spotlighting the history of the trauma that has affected communities of color. You guys touched on policies. You touched on just even when you look at the social aspect, the social factors that have contributed and plagued our communities as well. But one thing that comes to my mind, because, you know, being a product of that community as well and coming from that community, and I remember that commercial, this is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. Any questions? And all of us, you know, we are of age in this call right now who remember that commercial. We remember, as Jason alluded to earlier, the war on drugs and then the effects that it had on people who are over the age of 30 now, and when I think about mass incarceration as well, and how those numbers increased in the late 80s and early 90s and on. And how do we restore and we start repairing that trauma? Because when I think about marijuana growing up, you know, I remember people would say to me, "Book, you know, marijuana's the gateway drug which goes on to getting into heavier drugs." So how do we actually build that type of trust back within our communities when they have been traumatized on so many levels, as we all know in this call, which has affected our communities and has been detrimental to our communities on so many levels? I mean, this is true to my heart because I've watched so many of my friends and family members, you know, get affected by the war on drugs. And marijuana was one of those drugs where many people serve time in prison for. So if one of you could touch on that, I would greatly appreciate that. Jason?
By speaking our truth from a place of love. And so I think the way that we have to engage with our communities that we're quite frankly lied to is to bring forward what we believe is truth based in science, reason, and compassion from credible messengers to that particular community. So for example, in my Latino community, showing other elderly Latinos that also share my perspective on cannabis and maybe can share their perspective, I think is vitally important, that the person giving the message to our communities should be immediately identifiable and relatable to that demographic, right? And so I think that's where, as community organizers, it's important for us to find lots of different types of messengers and engage people in private spaces first and then public spaces to be able to go through what some folks maybe have had many questions about, but never had a real person that would talk to them honestly and answer their questions honestly. And so they were forced to get their information from a TV commercial. And I think that's where a lot of us that grew up, we went through DARE programs, we went to school, and we knew that the programs were lying to us, right? We didn't take them very seriously. They over-exaggerated how bad everything is, right? And so you just lose trust in authority figures. And so whenever folks have lost trust in authority figures, they will lean to their community to figure out how they can understand what's really going on, right? And so I think that's why bringing that information to our community from us is so important, but not sugarcoating or watering it down because folks may not be receptive at first, right? We have to tell folks, the government lied to you in order to lock up our community, right? Like that's why this happened. That's why it's so confusing, because the purpose was not our safety or our well-being. The purpose was making a lot of money for rich white people that own prisons. And, you know, we have to have those conversations first before we can even talk about the plant, right? Because it's communities of color that were incarcerated, right? It's a war on our people. The plant doesn't go to prison, right? The people go to prison. And I think that's where we have to meet folks where we're at, that criminalization doesn't help folks if you care about addiction. It does not help folks that are younger and are curious. They need real information from a place of honest truth and a place where they can ask questions in a way they won't feel shamed for asking questions. And our senior citizens need to be able to understand exactly how this medicine can benefit their higher quality of life, because they're watching white communities live longer and solve different ailments that they may be dealing with. But because of cultural stigma in our communities, our elderly are not able to access that relief. And so I think as long as we're coming at it from a place of we genuinely want our communities to benefit from this and explaining how they benefit, the tone will be appropriate. One thing, and I was somebody that had to learn this over many years, if you're dealing with community members that are misinformed, right? Like being angry or demeaning is not going to help them come over to your side, right? And so we have to differentiate for those folks that are genuinely curious and maybe are just going on what they heard versus the folks that are like actively trying to disrupt our communities. I take a very different tone with the people that I think are coming from malicious intent, and those exist. But for folks that are now coming around and saying, hey, I heard about Massachusetts, heard about New York. I never personally touched this stuff, but I've always just been worried about getting arrested, right? It's the arrest. It's the interaction with the criminal justice system. It's the situation that is our prisons, right? That's what they're afraid of. They're not afraid of a plant, right? Cannabis is a plant. And at the end of the day, people are curious about this plant because the plant helps our bodies and our lives feel better because, and I'm gonna get a quick science note here, THC and the cannabinoids present in the cannabis plant activate our endocannabinoid system in our bodies that exists even if you don't touch a processed cannabis product. We all have endocannabinoid systems in our bodies. That system regulates homeostasis. Homeostasis is your body feeling at rest or at peace or able to do its normal process, not too cold, not too hot, not too, doesn't need anything. And so that's why cannabis affects everyone differently, because we come into these situations with different physiological makeups. And so providing a space for folks to understand their relationship with their body, with their plant, and with their consciousness is what the argument around whether folks should use cannabis is all about, right? Aside from how terrible and racist our criminal justice system is, the ability for us to understand ourselves better through this plant is an act of curiosity, right? It's an act of wanting to understand things better. And to criminalize an act of curiosity, or to say we're going to disrupt families and we're going to bring violence into your home as the state because you're curious about your physiology, to me is just incredibly detrimental to our communities. And I don't think anyone really wants to see violence brought into our communities per the police over a plant, right? And so it's about helping folks understand that most of the harm associated with this problem actually came from the criminal justice system, and that the plant itself can benefit folks in tremendous ways if given the proper regulated space to do so.
Wow, well said, Jason Ortiz. Thank you so much. State Representative Q Phipps, I can see you there. You're really processing and taking it in. What comes to your mind right now while you were thinking about some of the things that Jason Ortiz was alluding to in his conversation?
Yeah. So one of my biggest inspirations in becoming a public servant, an elected official, was because my mom worked for River Valley Services, which is an offshoot essentially of Connecticut Valley Hospital System in the state of Connecticut, and working with those with mental health issues and with substance abuse. And in particular with substance abuse, I think as Jason alluded to earlier, is that the use of weed isn't the gateway drug, right? What does use of that product typically do? Makes you really hungry, right? Makes you laugh at jokes that probably aren't that funny, or watch a movie really intently more than you probably would at any other time. But is that going to really lead you to like down the path of like extreme drug use? Most likely not. Most likely not. But what will? Poverty will, right? A lack of opportunity and being able to get a good job, that will. Isolation and alienation, that will. Lack of mental health support when you're trying to use this to escape your reality and escape your world, that will. The ability not to have health care, so you can be able to see a doctor or a psychologist to talk about what's going on and how you're feeling and how your body is or how your mind is working, that will. These are all the things, right, that we have to address if we really want to address the substance abuse the substance abuse crisis that we have in our country and in our state. And how do I know that? Is because you can see the reaction and you can see the difference and how we have responded to the opioid crisis versus how we responded to, like I said, how we've criminalized marijuana and how we've criminalized during the crack epidemic. Very, very different responses. And you see the sort of compassion
Very
and
true.
care that has happened during the opioid crisis because that was happening, to be frank, in middle class and affluent households that had first got access to it through prescription drugs. And those folks received a tremendous amount of, I said, compassion, care, rehabilitation, so on and so forth. They were not criminalized. They weren't thrown in jail. We didn't get the key and throw it away. That is what we need to do for all of our communities if we are really to address the problem at hand. So I think we have to do several things. One is use the data, and Director Jason has done that very well. Like, here's what the evidence says. Here's what the data says. Lead with the data. So, and then if folks want to suddenly say that they don't believe the data and they don't believe the numbers, then let's lead with our stories, right? Let's talk about folks' own personal experiences, whether with the plant or for those that have come back and be rehabilitated or have fought substance abuse or continuing to fight that. Let's talk about their real experiences for how they went down that path. And I have never heard, and I said, I've been the first board of directors I've ever served on was the Middlesex Substance Abuse Action Council. I've served on it for probably 15 or 16 years now. It was my first one I ever served on. And in doing that work, I said, with many folks that are fighting substance abuse issues, I've never heard anyone say that, if I had never smoked that first joint, then I would have things that would have been perfect.
Right.
Generally speaking, it's things were already bad or terrible. Things weren't going well. And this only
So true.
excelled the problem, or this was just one more thing in the long list of things that were going on in my life. And maybe had I had a stronger educational system, right? Had I had support at home, had I had a psychologist or counselor to talk to, maybe my life would not have gone through this. I would have had a healthier way of dealing with it. But to suggest it's from the plant itself is absolutely ludicrous. I think the only thing that you would murder is like a big box of Twinkies or a lot of popcorn.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Phipps. That was very, informative just to hear your take on it, right?
Absolutely.
And Jason, you as well. I just want to say that I'm with you when you're talking about our Latino communities, right? And this belief about this, the use of this plant. And what's resonating with me right now is the fact that, we talk about drugs in general, but, let's talk about alcohol for a minute, right? Alcohol is a drug that we use, and people abuse this left and right. I mean, we can talk about the statistics of drunk driving, and for me, just alcoholism in my own family was just is unbelievable, right? And so we do this in our community, but I wonder about why so many people are against this bill, right, and the legalization of it. And so I ask one of you if you wouldn't mind just sharing, people like me and others out there, maybe some of our viewers.
And myself as well.
There you go. All of us who are in this to learn, right? We're in this to learn. Where can people find more resources that will talk about both sides of this bill, right? So that we become informed, citizens in our community. Where can we find more information about this bill?
So if you go to curect.nationbuilder.org, you'll be able to find all the information that I put out there about our bill. I'll tell you, it is not unbiased information. It is factual information, but it is 100% in favor of passing this bill. If you want to think about more sort of unbiased opinions, right? I would look to what the general conversation of how the government sees things, and then take that with a grain of salt, right? There is no such thing as unbiased information. There are going to be perspectives on both sides. The question is, what is the motivation or the interest of that particular person or source of information in context of what your interests are, right? And so sometimes you want to find information that is oppositional, sometimes you want it to affirm. But honestly, I got a lot of it through engaging with folks that are either policymakers or folks that are in the industry, people that consume cannabis, people that grow cannabis. And of course, I had a bit of a different experience because I consume cannabis. And so I had my own personal experiences with it. And I went to the University of Connecticut in stores, met lots of other people that consume cannabis on a regular basis. Some of them went on to be state reps and things like that. And so it's not, I wouldn't say that there's like a lack of perspective on this particular issue. I love YouTube, and I will always promote the positives of YouTube, but you can get all kinds of information, both very concrete medical information about cannabis. And so there are also a number of cannabis commissions now. So in all the different states, California, Massachusetts, Washington, they now have government entities that compile a lot of this information. So the Massachusetts Cannabis Commission is another great source of just like data and like information, right, that you can find, and it's tons and like thousands of documents there that outline specifically where all this different information comes from and different topics and things like that. But I'll just say again, like there is no such thing as unbiased information. What you should do is get many sources of different information and ask folks that are impacted, folks that are in the law enforcement field, and see how they think. Because I think you'll be surprised that where we think there's a lot of opposition, folks are already ready to move on with this whole locking people up for marijuana thing. Even when we were rallying on 420 at the Capitol, the police there said thank you to me. They're like, you're doing the right thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, just doing my civic duty. They're like, well, we know, but like, no, thank you. Like, you're right. And that was a very intense moment. This is the Capitol Police for the Capitol. And he wanted me to very much know, like, not just thank you for not making a problem, but like, thank you for legalizing cannabis. Right. Because I'm sure they get a lot of flack, right, over probably laws they don't want to enforce. And I've seen that in many, I wouldn't say all, but many law enforcement folks that I have seen that are generally coming from a place of wanting to help the community. So ask them directly, right? Is this something that you feel is necessary to continue? And I think most of the people you talk to, especially in our regular community interactions, are going to say, no, we shouldn't be wasting time locking people up, putting young people in jail, ruining lives. You're going to find that some folks maybe who have a political reason that they want to keep this going. Some of the Republicans now, it's funny, even the Republicans have kind of caved on like fighting it completely. Now they're just saying we support decrim, but we don't want full commercial. So we're running out of folks that are really opposed here. And I would say, ask lots of people you care about and compare and contrast their different answers. But if you want bill analysis, Cure CT is the organization I work with, and we've done a number of good write-ups and interviews and videos that you can find to hear a little bit more about the details.
Well, Jason and Q,
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much for your insight, your advocacy. I mean, your dedication, your passion, just on all levels, not just to this bill or this particular like social issue, but you are two extraordinary individuals.
Yes.
And for the viewers out there who are watching this show and they're interested in knowing a little bit more about you and how to get in contact with you, can you please like leave your information, maybe social media platform, and maybe also some words of encouragement, just a statement, to keep people going, to continue fighting that fight. And continue digging deep in their soul and continue fighting for something they do believe in. Even if it's not the legalization of marijuana, maybe it's something else, but something that resonates with you, a statement or a quote. Representative Q Phipps, and then I'll go to Jason Ortiz.
I was going to let Jason go first. Rep, you go first.
I love it.
So I'll
back clean up.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick story, maybe instead of a quote. My favorite quote is "Si se puede," and so that would be the quote that I would leave everybody with. But so I was arrested in high school for simple possession and thrown out of school at age 16 and had my life derailed over an arrest. And while I was figuring myself out, cannabis activists actually changed a law called the Higher Education Act's Federal Aid Elimination Penalty, which was the law that said if you got caught with cannabis, you wouldn't get financial aid. And so activists that came before me changed that law. And so folks that would only lose their financial aid if they got caught while they were on financial aid. And that small tweak meant everyone that got caught in high school could get financial aid. So I was both negatively impacted by the war on drugs and positively impacted by the movement to end it. And so small changes can have a huge difference in somebody's life. I was able to go to the University of Connecticut. I was able to find Students for Sensible Drug Policy. and now I'm the executive director of Students for Sensible Drug Policy, right? And so I want folks to really don't underestimate that policy change can have a huge impact on individuals, on communities. And so that's why I fight so passionately for all the details, because I know those details will impact somebody's life down the road. And that's why we need folks everywhere they are to be able to focus on the details that they care about, because I can't do everything, right? Say it. Let us know where you think there's things we should be concerned about. And for places like New London, right, we have to fight that New London specifically gets their share. And we are fighting up there for New London, right? And there are specifically mentioned in 6377. So even if you don't have necessarily a direct personal connection, fight for your community to benefit from these laws. And I think when we're in that struggle together, we'll be able to educate each other, understand some of the other details, and move the whole conversation forward. But we do need everyone to go to bat for saying our communities deserve to be invested in, and we're not going to move forward on this unless our communities are part of the pie.
Wow, that was well said.
Thank you so
Thank you so much,
Jason, for that. That was an amazing way to end. Awesome.
And State Representative Q Phipps from Middletown, Connecticut.
Yeah, so for those that want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at my email address, Quentin, QUENTIN, .phipps, PHIPPS at CGA.ct.gov. If you write me, I will just call you right back. So just make sure you leave your phone number and I'll give you a call back. I think this is the easiest way to have that one-to-one conversation. You can also find me on pretty much any social media platform at QUEWP1. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest. Once again, if you reach out to me, I'll probably just write you right back and say, hey, let's have a phone conversation. So here's what I'll share. That way before, so I've been a legislator only for 3 years, right? Before I was a legislator, I was a parent advocate, and I cannot tell you how important it is, the power of conversation, and just the power of just general communication and having that contact between two folks. Here's why I say that. In my 3 years, the things that I've gotten the emails the most about, so not taxation, not healthcare, not trying to think of some of the other like major issues, not criminal justice, not any of those things. The two things I've gotten the most emails about. One, there was a bill that was going to change the way that breweries could operate, and the brewers had a conniption, and I got more emails than I could possibly count about than I can possibly count. And then most recently, in the middle of a global pandemic, I had significant amount of emails saying that folks should be able to just not have vaccines and do whatever they want, even while we have measles outbreaks and COVID is spreading rampant. So here's what I would say. If there is something that you are passionate about, or there's something that you care about, even if you know you agree with your state rep or you agree with your state senator, write them anyway. Give them a call anyway. Show up to their coffee house. Tell them your opinion. Let them know. It makes it so much easier when you're defending it on the floor, when you're having conversations with folks that may not agree with you, so you can share theirs, you can share someone else's story, you can share your own story. When you have that, those stories, I dare say weaponized, but weaponized in the sense of being able to change folks' opinions and minds and hearts and ideas, when you have those stories, so I can say, this is what happened to John, this is what happened to Julie, this is what happened to Dwayne, this is what happened to Derek, this is what happened to Keisha. When I have those stories to share, and folks, because you can argue the data. Folks will say that you can argue the numbers all the time. As I like to say, 45% of those all statistics are made up right on the spot. You can't argue someone's feelings, and you can't argue someone's story, and you can't argue someone's experiences. So we need more of that, and we're going to need that if we really want to have the systemic change that we need around this policy, but a lot of the other policies that we care about. Making sure that everyone has a right to healthcare, the ability to have a home and to be safe, and making sure that everyone will never be food insecure and has the right to food. All of these issues are related. They are all one and the same. It's truly about supremacy, whether that we have those of the haves and the have-nots. And at some point, we really have to address that. And that point is now to making sure that we are all seen as worthy people. We are all seen as worthy of care, worthy of love, and worthy just to get our basic needs met and some. It shouldn't be just about the bare minimum. We are America. We are in Connecticut. It should really be about the sort of ideals and standards that we hold to be true and self-evident. And that's what we are all fighting for. And that's what we'll continue fighting for. So once again, thank you, brother Booker, for having me on and director. And this, I didn't see your name yet. It doesn't come up yet, but once again, thank you for having me too.
It's been a pleasure having you both on this show. I can't tell you, I was super excited to meet you, Mr. Phipps, and so now.
Well, tell me your name though. I can't see it.
Usually funny. Yeah. It's really these are this is an important topic, and you both brought your own insight and your own personal stories, which I always find fascinating when I do this show. So thank you for your time and for all the advocacy and the work that you're doing. Right. Yeah. We need people like you, particularly people of color, right, to speak on behalf of our people. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you to the both of you. I love the work you're doing. I love your passion, your dedication. So for the viewers out there, if you ever need to have a conversation about advocacy when it comes to legalization of marijuana, or just informing yourself a little bit more, educating yourself a little bit more about the marijuana bill, please get in contact with Jason Ortiz, president of the Minority Cannabis Business Association, and also state representative Q Phipps from Middletown, Connecticut. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you both on the Cultural Flipside today. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for your hard work. Have a wonderful day, guys.
All right, brother. Love you too.
Wow.
That was great.
Oh, my gosh.
I love that.
When I think back, just taking so much in, and it's just something that really resonated with me, just think about the different perspectives from both sides. And when he talked a little bit about criminalization and in our communities, and just think about the impact that it has had, but pushing things forward and making sure those faces represent the communities as well, who are the messengers.
Absolutely.
When Jason Ortiz talked about the messengers, having the messengers who look like the people from the community.
Absolutely, and that is absolutely powerful. I think what resonated for me, right, is both of them had a theme for me at the end, right? So Jason with this, the no small change, right? Right, like all changes. This is important work. Even that small little piece makes a big difference. I mean, that story about his high school, like his whole life would have been different. And then when Mr. Phipps was just talking about the power of conversation, right? Like we need to talk more as a community, right? And just really engage with each other. I don't think we just do that. And that is what Jason was alluding to. It leads to misunderstandings and making up things and making them bigger than what they are, when really it's not true, right? And so that to me was what was just really great conversation.
And it brought back a lot of memories for me too, when they were talking about the war on drugs and the history, because I lived through it and you lived through it. That was part of our era. And I lost so many close friends because of the war on drugs. And then now when I look at the way drugs are treated now, is more, we're going to treat this issue.
Right. That's true.
And when I think about even like what our show today is like, why now? Why didn't it happen then?
Right. It's been around for a while.
Why are we having these conversations now? And then when I think about even like mental health, anxiety, depression, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I remember as an educator, as a teacher in my class, we were not really discussing mental health, depression, anxiety. So, in the past 5 years, these have been important topics.
Absolutely.
Why now? And when I thought about that, like, why were we not discussing this 20 years ago?
Correct.
15 years, 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's a pleasure and honor to have the two guests today, Kathleen O'Brien and Marco Fabretti, and they're both poets who talk about their own personal issues and educating others that you do not have to allow your circumstance to define who you are.
Absolutely.
So Ron, I know you're back there, moving in the side as always, doing your work. Can you bring on Kathleen O'Brien and Marco Fabretti, please? Oh my gosh.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for your patience.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You look beautiful. Kathleen O'Brien, Marco Fabretti. I see you over there. You got your mask on right here. I want to see who you are. So.
Hi, Marco.
Kathleen O'Brien, can you tell the world who are you? And then I'll go right to Marco Fabretti there.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for inviting me to be on the show today. And Pauline, nice to meet you.
No. This is
okay.
the guest co-host today.
It's all good.
Yeah, Daisy Torres.
It's all good.
So sorry,
Yeah.
Daisy.
No worries.
Nice to see you as well.
Nice to see you.
So I work at Mitchell College. I'm a student activities coordinator and a residence hall director here. That's actually how I met Kevin, is through one of the events that we planned here on campus, and Marco. So I'm a spoken word artist. I'm a mental health advocate, and I'm really happy to be here today.
Wow. And you're a strong woman of faith, which is always an honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you. And you're up near my way at Mitchell College. I'm in New London. I'm down the street. I'm Pequot. I live down there. So I love the campus. So thank you so much for being here today.
And Marco Frabetti, the Italian stallion.
Oh, Marco, how are you?
It's good, man. I'm good. I'm great, man. Beautiful day. Good to see y'all.
Awesome.
Talk to y'all.
Can you tell the world who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Marco Anthony Fabretti, spoken word artist, inspirational, motivational speaker, man of faith as well. Somebody who suffered from mental health and depression, addiction, and overcame. So I'm here to just tell the world how to overcome, tell the world about my struggles, and hopefully that they can understand, relate, and overcome with me through the poem.
Wow. See, this is Daisy. These two right here are extraordinary individuals. I feel the energy already.
Yes, I can't wait.
Good.
You know, they're not even in the studio, and I feel the energy right now.
I love it.
You know, I know right now they came prepared. They have their poems.
Yeah.
You know, these are extraordinary poets, and they're right here on the Cultural Flipside. You know, they're ready to turn it up. I can see the energy.
Yes.
So, you know, let's get right to it. Kathleen O'Brien, you have a piece for us. Can you tell us a little bit about who inspired you to write this piece? And then if you can segue right into your piece, that would be awesome for the world.
Absolutely. Well, actually, it was when you reached out to me, Kevin, and you asked me to speak about mental health and depression. The first thing that came to mind is a lot of people who don't have it or understand it necessarily, it's hard to wrap your mind around it if you don't experience it. So this is kind of a glimpse into what I kind of work through each and every day. And I know a lot of other people might be able to relate as well. So I'm going to go right into it. I call this one Mental Health Mixer. It's like a party in my head with guests I didn't invite. But this isn't the kind of party you want to be at. It feels like one that was planned out of spite. Guests who overstay the welcome I didn't extend. You know, the ones that you just can't take a hint. You want to tell them to go, but you don't want to offend. But they keep me up late into the night until I can see the daylight. On second thought, they actually more like residents, but they don't pay any rent. They up here living for free, then rob me of my identity and my peace of mind. And I'ma give them a piece of my mind, but I can't ruin the party. Let me explain why I feel confined. See, social anxiety got me feeling like when I walk into any room, everyone looks because they were just talking about me, telling me that even though we spoke, they don't like me. So avoiding them is key. It's not only that, I got my generalized anxiety frantically telling me that something at this party is about to go wrong. So pay extra attention to everything going on. Depression is chilling alone in the corner, focused on none of the pros, but each and every con, muttering that nothing is important. Why don't you just go lay in bed? You can sleep off these endless expectations and thoughts in your head. ADHD comes tearing through the room, or maybe it's been here the whole time, telling me, dang, I don't know what you should focus on or where you should even start. I can't even help you finish this rhyme. How about we just avoid it all? Procrastinate and build a wall. And I'm supposed to be the host, right? But I feel powerless in this fight. To their comments, suggestions, and each demand. But listen up, they're not invincible to your reprimand. You can crash the party that they start throwing before it gets out of hand. Instead of letting them run the show, get to know them for who they are and when they tend to come and go. While we don't have a say in why our mental health is the way it is, we have the ability to get to know ourselves and ace that pop quiz. It takes intentionality, persistence, steady pace, in all the mental health challenges that we face. If you're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed because this party feels like it will never end, just take it one day at a time. Know that you're not alone. I'm praying that the Lord said healing to you so you can mend.
Ooh!
Wow. My goodness.
Kathleen O'Brien.
That was amazing.
Fire.
That was amazing.
Wow.
Thank you so much for
Bars.
that beautiful message. Wow.
Bars.
Bars.
Awesome. I don't even know. Like, I can't.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank
My
you.
dear, you are very talented.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Wow. That was amazing.
Deep.
Amazing. Jeez.
Like, where do you go? Like, that's wow.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And just taking that in, how people feel, navigating through those spaces. Wow.
And it's reality for many.
For many, so many people.
You just you nailed it.
Yeah.
With what people are feeling and thinking, and you just put it into words.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
An advocate, for a pursuit of knowledge and formulating healthy outlets and coping mechanism, to promote growth and healing. And it's going to look different for everyone, but that's kind of my agenda.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And that leads us to Marco Fabretti now.
Come on, Marco.
So we got two extraordinary poets on here today, right here on the Cultural Flipside. You ready, Marco?
Let's rock, man. Kat, thank you so much.
Let's do it.
For the
And then
fire
y'all
to
gonna
me.
do something together here.
I was trying to push people. All right.
Y'all ready?
We're ready.
We're ready.
Kick it off like this. I woke up to a new day. Isn't that alone supposed to be a blessing? But why is it that nothing even happened yet? And my heart pounding, and my mind is racing, and I'm already stressing. Even during the times I'm asleep, I wake up like 4 times a night. These are supposed to be hours where I rest, yet I'm still at work trying to find me some peace. I feel there is always something inside of me that just keeps fighting me. I can't get close to others right now because I'm trying to run away from myself. I'm starting to convince myself I'm not normal. These burdens have attacked my mind where this idea has become all right with me. I'm not all right, and it's crazy how these encouraging messages and kind words feel like they biting me. Everybody else's smiles and posts feel like a knife in my chest. I escaped death. I'm blessed. I should be grateful. But the reality is life sometimes can feel like death. Like, why did I survive just so I could feel like this? For real. Is there something wrong with me? But I guess that's life. That's what all the people say. I know that there is a song in me, and so I write it. Because many times I thought of cutting out, but my heart just ain't gonna buy it. Because I know God can change that tune, and I'll be back on top in June. I said that's life. But for now, I need the strength to face May. Deep down, I'm truly happy no matter what my face say. Guess I'm still recovering from all these April showers. Because these feelings are playing with my vision. I pray that I may see the flowers. Because I feel sometimes like I'm in a prison and the devil is watching me from the tower. This is how he wants me. Hasn't killed me yet. No real bullets, but they still hurt. I try to escape. He fires a shot and it stuns me. It's torture. I think he enjoys that more. Why get rid of me when he'd rather watch me live in misery? I can hear the gun click before he shoots at me. So I lie down, speaking lies to my mind while I'm on the ground till I start to sound true to me. I'm so grateful for my many opportunities. I pushed through the pain I showed you and the pain that you can't see.
Ooh.
I came about some things. I got thousands of people who root for me, people YouTubing me. It looked like I'm really living my life. But look twice and listen, you see somebody just out here trying to survive. My voice allows me to express. Somebody dies, we all act surprised. Why? Because we too shy from speaking out and sharing our truth, stigmatized, even if that means that we can stop the lie. My homie texted me. He was going to take his life. He found courage to speak. I read the text and I fell back asleep. Just assumed whatever he was facing that he would make it through. The next morning I find out he hung himself with a sheet. Damn, what did I do? Best believe I reply now. Even as I'm writing this, I can't seem to get it out. So much to say, but my mind is being attacked now. I unclick my pen, put it down. I close my eyes and I can hear the sound. The voice of truth tells me to push through and I come back alive. I click the pen. I begin writing again. I just want a wife, kids, and a white picket fence, but my mind is a mess. My heart's strong, but it's been through a lot. Somebody told me it's okay not to be okay for real. Sometimes it's better to accept where you're at and be still. Feelings will pass, but then you got to get up and move again. There is so much more to reach for that's above me, and I don't need you to fix me, just love me. I don't need you to get me, just hug me. Say it's gonna be okay. I got real hope. I'm rich in faith. The truth has been deposited in my real soul. But sometimes I lose my card and I can't make a withdrawal. Then I lose like 5 to 10 business days of my life depressed, so I take the time to pray in between. Until the check, the mail, open the envelope, go down to the ATM, stick my new card in the machine, create a new pen, and I'm back to winning again. Man, listen, I'm up, then I'm down again. I'm confident, then I'm battling in self-doubt again. I don't want to worry anybody, so I don't tell a friend, or fear I may feel rejected if they don't respond to what I'm texting. I'm tired. I know I should surrender to the Lord, but I keep trying to do it in my own strength and I fight more. I'm up on stage speaking life to thousands. The next week, I'm up in the psych ward. I may not be a U.S. Army sergeant in fatigues, but best believe every day is a battle in my mind. I'm fatigued. I really fight wars. I really got an enemy too. God forgive me if I get upset with people who love me when they try to tell me the truth. You ever been the one praying and helping people, then rejecting the prayers and help from people? You ever been the one to see the gray skies on a sunny day? You ever won battles and lost them in the same day? You ever almost died from giving into these feelings and temptations, hoping for a brighter day, then at the same time feeling like the temptations? Oh, how I wish that it were rain, because that would hide my tears. Toughen up, you a man, right? Nah, I'd rather be transparent with my life, help others instead of trying to hide my fears. I made it my goal this year to expose every lie inside of me. I can't let them settle in, make their bed in my mind, get comfortable, say goodnight, and lie inside of me. Because I could easily go from writing poems, giving hope, speaking truth to people calling, texting, knocking on my door, trying to find me like, where are you? Because depression just keeps me self-absorbed. So I use my experiences for you. I hope that it helps. And there's medication if mental health has you always feeling like you at war with yourself. Because it can paralyze us, make us not want to move too. It's like you survived a shipwreck. You yelling from the lifeboat for help. As the ship passed by with the bright lights, man, I just want to be a part of the party and enjoy the cruise too. These ups and downs affected my mental health. Add addiction to the mix, there is no way that I could save myself. I learned to be grateful and accept the life that I have before I can strive and grind for the life that I want. I'm content, but I won't settle for less. I always made it to tomorrow, and for that, I am truly blessed. Gained and lost and started over so many times. It's like running a race, then pulling a muscle at the same place right next to the finish line. And every time you recover and heal, you start over. But this time you're a little older, and now you find out you are running the race a little slower. But life isn't about winning. It's no competition. Don't compare yours with others. Maybe now we are just a little bit wiser. Maybe now I'm okay with running at my own pace. And if you need advice, keep a few advisors. If you need a break, say no and be okay with that. You need space, find a place of solitude. But never isolate. Pick up the phone when they call and let them know that you are okay. Renew your strength and come back stronger. Don't worry about your setbacks. Strive to get where you want to be, even if that may take you a little longer. Take care of you first. That doesn't mean have an attitude of you first, you jerk. That ain't true. We just all need a healthy you. Because God still puts me in a position to help others when I'm feeling my worst. Because I've been in detox, sick, but I was still able to love. I've been in rehabs, feeling hopeless, tears soaking, but still able to give others hope. I've been in jail cells, shackled from my wrists, ankles, and feet, but still able to have joy and feel free. All the glory to God for that. I'm a survivor, and so are you. And until we all thrive together, let's stay united in love, because the story switches, and even in our sufferings, at least we got each other, and we can all get through it alive together. Stop the lie.
Wow.
My goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Woo! Wow. That was fire,
Jeez.
Marco. Fire. That was
Wow.
fire. Both of you.
Marco Fabretti and Kathleen O'Brien. Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Wow.
Love.
Yes.
Ron, what are you thinking right now? What's coming to your mind,
My
Ron?
goodness.
Man, I got chills.
Chills.
Chills, both of you.
Just
Both of you are just
Amazing.
phenomenal. Right here on the Cultural Flipside.
yes.
Now, in this show today, we talked about marijuana, anxiety, depression. I want you to write these words down really quick. Marijuana, anxiety, depression, mental health, and trauma.
Don't forget love.
And love. As Ron said, love. Right? Because that's what brings us all together.
Absolutely.
Now, what I want, depression. I want Kathleen, I want you to talk do a line in there on depression for your poem. And we're going to call this poem The Cultural Flipside. We're going to title it, Why Now? Why Now? That's the title of this poem, because that's the title of the show. Why now? So right now, Marco, I want you to touch on anxiety, marijuana, and mental health.
All right.
And then Miss O'Brien there, Kathleen O'Brien, I want you to touch on the other 3 words there. Love, depression, and mental health. What did I say? Trauma, right? Trauma. Okay? So right now, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to come up with something. Marco, you're going to set it off. Kathleen's going to end it. We're going to do this right now on the Cultural Flipside before we close out our show, because this is how we do.
Right,
Because we got 2 talented artists right now here on the Cultural Flipside. And I know we got Marco Frabretti, we have Kathleen O'Brien. As y'all can see, viewers right now, they're working really hard and they're gonna get it popping right now. The title of the poem right now is called Why Now? Right here on the Cultural Flipside. So I'm getting ready to count this down and they're gonna say this poem right here on the Cultural Flipside right now. Wow. Title what?
Why now?
Right here on the Cultural Flipside. Here we go. Let's go, Daisy. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, do you guys need like 5 more seconds?
Give me the 15-second countdown one more time.
No. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds here. We're gonna do it in Spanish right now.
Ready?
You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Love it. I love it right here. This is how we do it. All right. Here you go. Marco, I see you working hard right there. I see you right there, Kathleen.
One more bar.
I know.
I give you credit. That would stress me out.
Junk. Okay, the title of the poem is Why Now? Okay. All right, y'all gonna get ready to set it off. Y'all thinking right now. Y'all moving.
There's a lot of pressure.
All right.
I know, but this is talent. We're showing the world a talent. This is how they think.
Go.
on their
I'm
feet.
ready.
He's ready.
He's ready?
He's ready.
Kathleen, are you ready?
Start us off, Marco.
Oh, there we go.
Ooh, that's my girl. That's my girl. She's like, let's go.
Let's go.
Good girl.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
Go ahead, Marco.
Anxiety feeling like a knife in me. Got me feeling crazy. I am me, but not today. I need to get this anxiety out my way. Marijuana never helped, just made it worse. Why now they want to legalize it when people locked up? I'm trying to speak about it. Mental health, talk about your problems, brothers. Now that's men with health. Why now? I can't wait to get to heaven and escape this mental hell. Let's go.
Go.
Depression got me feeling so low. I didn't know there was a lower than rock bottom. Mental health made me feel like a prisoner, but didn't know that I'm the one holding the key. Trauma floating to the surface make me feel queasy. The Lord never said that this would be easy. He promises that all will become new, and his love is steadfast, it's immovable and firmly fixed. And if you want me to share a takeaway, this is what I'll say. Get to know yourself for who you truly are. Don't cover up those scars. They are part of your story and proof that you won the battles that you fought, and encouragement for those who are currently caught. Who would have ever thought that you'd be where you are today? You have a purpose. Don't give up. Don't delay.
Oh my gosh.
My God.
Drop.
That was amazing.
What did you get? Like a 3 minutes? What was I in a different world?
Less than that. Less than that. That's
Wow.
talent.
No. She
So,
blessed it.
really quick, social media platform where people can find you. Kathleen O'Brien, if you can share really quick.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. My name, Kat O'Brien. I've been slacking on it, but this has just filled me so much. Thank you so much for letting me be here today, and it's given me some encouragement that I was really needing. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the Cultural Flipside. Appreciate you, Kat.
Pleasure meeting you.
And Marco Fabretti, where can they find you?
Yo, YouTube, Marco Anthony Fabretti. Facebook, Marco Anthony Fabretti. Instagram, Marco, the number 4, HYMN, as in hymnal, because we for him and we do the music and the poetry. So Marco
Awesome.
Anthony Fabretti, Marco Anthony Fabretti, Marco for him. Stop the lie.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the Cultural Flipside today.
Thank you. Thank you so
Love.
much.
Love you guys. Have a great day.
Do recover.
Daisy, wow. That was phenomenal.
That was an amazing
I think they
show.
wrapped up the whole message to the show now.
it.
Why now?
Why now? You did it right
They
there.
did it right there.
The poem.
And they did it in how many seconds?
They said, you gave me 3 minutes. Marco was like, give me 3 minutes. That was like 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Wow.
They put that together. Why
3
now?
minutes planning, 30 seconds. I'm impressed. I can't
Wow.
do that.
You know, when I just think about everything that we talked about in the show today, you know, anxiety, depression, mental health, you know, a lot of us are just dealing with so many issues,
Yes.
especially during COVID right now, in this
Absolutely.
pandemic that we're going through. So let's just pray out
Let's
on
pray.
this one.
I love it.
So, God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you so much for this awesome show. Thank you for this time that we come together in your word. And please protect our families, our loved ones, the viewers. And thank you so much for this moment that we share together. Amen.
Amen.
So remember, everyone, you can pray anywhere. You can meditate anywhere. You can just take a walk, whatever it takes to make sure you have peace within yourself. And thank you so much for joining the Cultural Flipside today. We love you. We appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Hasta pronto. Adios.
Adios. Peace.